So I put my track on the PlayStation Network.
I went into ModNation Racers expecting a kart racer I probably wouldn't particularly like. I do not like the Funko Pop or urban vinyl or whatever kind of art style, and I generally don't like kart racers, which may or may not have anything to do with blue shells. The last racing game I truly enjoyed was ESPN Extreme Games on the PS1, and that was because I could punch bike tires from my street luge. But somewhere along the way, ModNation Racers stopped being a documentary about a kart racer. Because the more I dug into it, the more I realized this game presents a preservation problem. ModNation Racers gave ordinary players remarkably powerful tools to build tracks, karts, characters, jokes, experiments, whatever weird shit they could come up with, and encouraged them to share all of it with everyone else. For years, that enormous library of player creativity existed because Sony allowed it to exist. Then, Sony turned it off. Suddenly, preserving ModNation Racers isn't about buying a disc, putting it on a shelf, and doing a documentary, which is kind of a problem for me. Because this channel is about video game history and preservation. It's about telling the stories of OG devs and creatives who, like me, are not getting any younger. I feel that part of my legacy is to preserve theirs. At least that's what I thought preservation meant when I started this. ModNation Racers was developed by United Front Games. They were effectively a supergroup founded by veteran industry figures originating from Electronic Arts, Rockstar Games, and Radical Entertainment in 2007 in Vancouver, British Columbia. Unlike most supergroups, they were inventive and put out some really good shit. Like most supergroups, they're no longer together. Okay, let's back up a smidge and do a little history. Vancouver's emergence as a global hub for game development originated in the early 80s with pioneers like Distinctive Software Incorporated. The acquisition of DSI by Electronic Arts in 1991 created EA Canada, establishing an institutional spawn point from which veteran developers repeatedly spun off to form other independent entities. The first generation of studio splits yielded a bunch of prominent local developers, including Radical Entertainment in 1991, Relic Entertainment in 1997, Barking Dog Studios and Black Box Games. Seriously? Black Box Games in 1998. Not too long after, somewhere between 2002 and 2005-ish, multinational publishers executed a sweeping consolidation wave across that region. Electronic Arts acquired Black Box Games in 2002 as EA Black Box. Take-Two Interactive acquired Barking Dog Studios in 2002, rebranding it as Rockstar Vancouver. And Vivendi Universal acquired Radical Entertainment in 2005. As corporate takeovers often do, this completely borked any existing workplace culture and creative autonomy. This institutional raw dogging, combined with demanding and repetitive production cycles, creatively bankrupt annualized releases as money grabs, catalyzed a second wave of corporate change. And thus United Front Games was officially established in mid-2007 by a founding cohort of a bunch of industry veterans. The studio's leadership explicitly structured UFG as a literal united front, as they had multi-studio expertise from competing regional developers that had each mastered distinct dimensions of game design. Rather than centering the studio around a single auteur, UFG's intent was to be a high-capacity independent studio capable of executing AAA-scale multi-platform projects while also keeping the operational flexibility of an artist-led developer. And so it appears that United Front Games was built around three interconnected goals. Uno, combining specialized mechanics inside open-world games. Now, historically, open-world action titles tended to compromise somewhere, whether it was rudimentary driving physics or simplified melee combat. UFG wanted to combine EA Black Box grade-style vehicle dynamics with fluid, cinema-inspired martial arts combat inside dense, streaming urban environments. Those somewhat familiar with video game history might feel their brain being tickled right about now. B. Making user-generated content, or UGC, accessible on consoles. See, user creation tools on PC were pretty robust, but console creation tools were still clunky at best. Under Sony's Play, Create, Share initiative, UFG set out to make complex track, character, and vehicle editing approachable with a controller. This culminated in its debut title and the one we're talking about today. And 3. The studio would develop its own games while also serving as a high-level development partner for major publishers. In theory, balancing multiple projects would protect UFG from depending financially on any single game, while allowing it to build its own technology and become even more valuable. The problem was, with all that talent and experience, this was a super easy sell. They immediately got into bed with Activision for True Crime Hong Kong and Sony for ModNation Racers. And like most threesomes, one got upset and left in the middle, got replaced, changed things up a bit, and led to only partially satisfactory conclusions. And even that's with caveats. So what started as a small powerhouse studio of around 10 people needed to ramp up to hundreds of employees in the first couple of years. I'll talk more about how that turned out later, but you can probably guess. Okay, I admit, I did not go into this game expecting an actual story, and I was pleasantly surprised by what was delivered. The single-player campaign in ModNation Racers is a tongue-in-cheek satire following the high-stakes drama of the ModNation Racing Championship, or MRC. The story centers on Tag, the thankfully silent protagonist who helps his mom at her struggling paint shop and dreams of racing. To keep the lights on, Tag spots an MRC recruitment flyer and decides to give it a go. Tag's mom brings in her old friend Chief, a former racer who agrees to become Tag's crew chief. The next thing you know, they're in a qualifier for the professional circuit, where Tag receives an allegedly indestructible advanced weapons thingy.
And it's called a boombox, not a weapons thingy.
In any case, I think there'd be a bit more bureaucracy before entering a race, but I guess that would kill the momentum of a racing game. But hear me out. If this were a story-driven turn-based RP, Tag's flashy DIY aesthetic and raw talent make him a fan favorite, catching the attention of Biff Treadwell and Gary Reasons, the MRC's Odd Couple commentators who broadcast OK Whippersnappers Look. The Odd Couple was this sitcom that was popular in... I guess I should put in a spoiler warning.
I can see you know when to keep quiet.
If you don't want a kart racer spoiled, you can skip ahead to the next section. By the time Tag hits the official MRC tour, he's become a massive pain in the balls for the suits at Conservative Motors, a soul-crushing automotive giant. One suit in particular is stuffed with Tag's own greedy uncle, Richard Short. Short Dick. Conservative Motors, of course, builds the most boring cookie-cutter karts imaginable.
Conservative Motors B008S sedan is affordable, reliable, and guaranteed never to be noticed.
And they see Tag's custom vibes as a direct threat to their market share. Uncle Richard tries to buy him out with a corporate sponsorship designed to yuck his yum. Tag, of course, non-verbally says no. And so, losing his shit, Uncle Richard rigs Tag's kart with a bomb. While Chief is tuning the ride for a big race, the thing goes off, blowing up Tag's kart and putting Chief in a coma, but, you know, in a funny way. Unable to afford a new weapons thingy and unwilling to let his mother sell the paint shop, Tag finally caves to Uncle Shortdick and signs the contract. He's stripped of his artistic license and forced to drive a super boring beige corporate kart with Uncle Richard as his new crew chief. The tables turn when Chief wakes up and finds out Tag is sitting in the lap of the khaki-clad Uncle Richard. Chief reveals that his old boombox survived his racing career and gives it to Tag, eliminating any practical reason Tag needed Conservative Motors in the first place. Back in his custom ride and fueled by spite, Tag destroys the competition in the MRC Grand Tour finale. That competition, by the way, includes the reigning champion, Espresso, who, years ago, ran Chief off the track, ending his career. The best part? Right after the trophy ceremony, the ModNation PD rolls up to cuff Uncle Dick after the kart racing CSI found his prints all over the bomb scraps from Chief's garage. The gameplay is mostly standard kart racer fare, especially for the time. Pickups, hazards, jumps, hip checks, all that stuff. What was a truly groundbreaking mechanic, though, was the track creation options, but we'll get to that in a bit. You have a boost meter that you fill by doing all that fast and furious stuff like drifting, drafting, spinning, hopping, and generally fucking over your opponents. You can use all that boost juice for boosting, shielding, and ramming. The way shielding works is kind of clever, though. It gives you total immunity but destroys your boost meter in just a couple of seconds. So timing your shield when 6 missiles are chasing you is pretty important. Being a kart racer, there are inevitably the offensive pickups. You have your rockets, Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom!
It's, actually called Sonic Bomb, but I wanted to use that gag. Lightning, and your standard speed boosts. What's not standard is that if you don't use a pickup and pick up another pickup of the same pickup type, your pickup is upgraded. Like if you pick up a rocket. The first level is just one unguided rocket, 0 AI. The second is 3 heat-seeking rockets that target your nearest opponent. And the third is a barrage of missiles that drop bombs on the entire track ahead. And if you're already in first place, just drop them as mines like James Bond. This goes for all pickups, including boosts, which create puddles of varying size and duration. You know what, let's go through the rest since we like seeing things destroyed. Bolt level 1 is kind of like the first level of rockets, one shot in whatever direction you're facing. Level 2 seeks out the closest rival and chains to nearby cars. Level 3 creates a lightning storm that hits all the players in front of you. Sonic Bomb Level 1 is a radial blast affecting karts that are invading your personal space. Level 2 releases 3 orbs that shock and stun. The third is a huge sonic wave that tears down the track. As for the boost, the first level is your average ordinary speed boost. The second just lasts longer. The third, though, is called Warp, and it will create a tunnel that will effectively teleport you down the track. But be careful, because opponents who are drafting you can follow you into the warp. Then there's the mod spot, where you do all of your customization. I'll let Biff and Gary explain.
That's right, and it all begins at the race station. Join or host your own online races in your quest for multiplayer domination. Hone your skills with Quick Race. Have a party in split screen, and every MRC career starts here. So if you want to be on the fast track to the winner's circle, Race Station is the place for you.
They're the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the top of the dog pile.
They're the hottest mods and karts on the track. They may change tomorrow, but today, these are the ones all the fans are scrambling to get. If you want your work up there with the greats, you'll have to make your way to the Creation Station. This is what it's all about, folks. Create, shop, and share. Here you can customize your mods, your karts, and even your tracks.
The only thing you can't customize is Gary. But really, who cares about Gary when you could be test driving premium content at the coming attractions venue?
The big screens will help you stay up to date with the latest news from the MRC. See which racers have been spotted here today.
Keep tabs on your competition with your players list. You'll always have someone to race.
In the mod spot, meeting other racers couldn't be easier. Just drive on up to them and strike up a conversation. Use gestures, voice, and text messaging to start a chat.
And don't forget to race on fan favorites at the top tracks venue. Or crush your friends with the quickest lap times on the track of the day at the Hot Lap.
Well, mods and modettes, that's it from the mod spot. Be sure to stay tuned as the MRC gets started.
Track creation was truly groundbreaking. ModNation Racers was the first video game to introduce and pioneer the drive to create mechanic for 3D track editing.
Early on, we made the decision. Our artists are going to use the same tools as the users. We're not going to cheat. We're not going to make it so that, oh yeah, here's a editor that can build tracks, and then we're doing our own stuff on the side. We don't really have anything that the consumer's not going to have, which was terrifying for us at first.
Prior to ModNation Racers, track editors in racing games, like the one in Stunts or Revolt, Trackmania, relied on static piece-by-piece selection, top-down grid placement, or point-and-click spline nodes. United Front Games reinvented this process for ModNation Racers by making track creation an active driving mechanic. Then players could stop and refine the result with terrain, scenery, hazards, props, shortcuts, and use more traditional editing tools. It was honestly ridiculously easy and intuitive, which, as a console release, was effectively required. You could also, for free, share all of your creations for free with Sony's Play, Create, Share platform for free with everyone for free.
Right from the beginning with ModNation Racers, it was all about the community, really tapping into sort of that online component, and the PlayStation Network being for free really helps that.
Sony would end this democratized content nonsense in 2018. To massive fan disappointment. But in 2025, after years of development, a bunch of passionate community modders launched a fan-made ModNation Racers revival server. More on that later. Okay, so this is where my research sent me spinning. Look at the credits real quick. United Front Games just put people into different buckets. Great for socialism, terrible for documentaries. They also leveraged a lot of outside help from some prestigious companies. So for this section, I think I'm just going to pick a name out of a hat. I mean, not a literal hat, but literally, Jesus Christ, YouTube is hard. No wonder I only have like 8 subs. And if you're seeing this, chances are you're one of them, so thank you. When he was 11, Sam Riegel was part of a traveling cast of Les Miserables. After college, he joined the comedy troupe Upright Citizens Brigade. But Riegel is probably best known as a key member of Critical Role, where he and a bunch of other voice actors play Dungeons & Dragons. Following their massive success and winning a ton of awards, the Critical Role cast split from Geek and Sundry in 2019 to launch their own independent banner, Critical Role Productions. They instantly took to Kickstarter with a modest $750,000 goal for an animated special, but the community said take my money, showering them with over $11 million instead. By late 2019, Amazon Prime Video swooped in for the streaming rights to the project, now known as The Legend of Vox Machina, where Riegel returns as the iconic Scanlan Shorthalt.
It's in the legend of Oh, thank you very much.
He also hosted the All Work No Play podcast and web series alongside Liam O'Brien. On the writing and directing side in 2018, he shared a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Directing in an Animated Program for his work on Danger and Eggs. As a voice actor, he's probably best known for voicing Donatello in the 2003 to 2009 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, and as Phoenix Wright in several Ace Attorney games.
Objection!
Speaking of games, he's also voiced Chris Haversham in Fallout New Vegas.
They'll never suspect a thing.
Allegretto in Eternal Sonata.
With this many talented people helping out, you don't really need me, do you?
And Jean Paulet in Resonance of Fate.
Jean Paulet, at your service.
Also, like 100 other games. And yeah, given his credits, this guy should be in the voice actor section, but his critical role in ModNation Racers was as part of a team of writers contracted by a company called Blindlight. They bridged the gap between gaming and Hollywood, doing stuff like getting Paul McCartney to compose original music for Destiny.
Hope for the future.
At the time of writing, he serves as an executive producer on both The Legend of Vox Machina and The Mighty Nine, while also contributing to casting, voice direction, and the show's broader creative development. Also, he's a cancer survivor. Fuck cancer.
Guys, I have missed performing, I've missed my friends, I've missed telling stories, but mostly...
And you know, fuck this guy too. I mean, he's making me question my accomplishments. I mean, I make YouTube videos, and that's,
Lane counts as a real accomplishment.
I want to briefly touch on the, aesthetic of the game. If you're not familiar with urban vinyl, it's a designer toy movement that emerged in Hong Kong during the late 1990s, blending street culture, hip-hop, collectible art, fashion, and a little Mr. Potato Head energy.
We started with the idea of doing like a kart racing game, and then it was Rob who came up with the idea of combining that with vinyl toys.
It just seemed like a really good fit. People just customize vinyl toys, and usually everyone starts with the same figure, which is called a platform, and then you're responsible for customizing it and making it as unique as possible. So that really appealed to us.
This whole designer vinyl collectible toy art thing was set in motion by Michael Lau, who once stated, "All art are toys and all toys are art."
Vinyl encompasses all different types of styles. Essentially, they're art toys. A lot of the people that make these, they're also painters, designers, other things like that. Yet it still remains somewhat underground. There's all different styles. Every artist has his own style. Every company kind of has their own aesthetics.
What? Oh!
The part of vinyl toys that I've always been attracted to is the urban vinyl style. So I saw like other like graffiti influence, you know, street art influence. So here's the ride I got here. It's the official Kid Dragon ride. You know, he keeps it low. Scrapers, ready to smash on fools. That's how we do it.
There are 3 musicians credited for the music in ModNation Racers: Mark Barrel, Peter Chapman, and Jono Grant. Grant told me that his music was used in the Creation Station, which explains why his name appears in the game credits but not on the released OST. Then there's a bonus musician, Melissa Reese. She's probably best known as the first female member and second keyboardist for Guns N' Roses, alongside longtime member Dizzy Reed. Long before GNR, she formed a prolific composing partnership with drummer Brian "Brain" Mantia. He's ex-Primus and ex-GNR. Together, they scored video games like Infamous 2, Twisted Metal, and Bloodborne, plus a bunch of films and commercials, including a Johnny Walker ad featuring a CG Bruce Lee. When they team up, they go by the name Brain and Melissa, which really is a wasted opportunity. I mean, how could you not call yourselves Melissa and the Brain? Anyway, according to the credits, she wrote the main theme, which was on the ModNation Racers OST. So, yeah. I know you may be wondering why I included her in this section. I don't know either. You know, your guess is as good as mine. It's because I love her.
Dude, whatever.
Mark Barrel's path into the industry is basically the definition of doing it the hard way. Growing up in Quebec, he bought his first guitar with paper route money and played with a band called the Spitfires that jammed in a laundry room using the washer and dryer as part of the rhythm section. After earning multiple music degrees, he worked as a composer and post-production guru at Radical Entertainment. There, he scored around 20 projects, including The Simpsons Hit and Run and Scarface: The World Is Yours. He's also scored several films, including Happy Face Killer, Blind Detective, for which the song Love Is Blind he co-wrote received a nomination for Best Original Song at the Hong Kong Film Awards, as well as the movie Soufflé au Chocolat, for which he was nominated for a Leo Award for Best Score in a Feature Film. In my research, I found a lot of contradictions, but he's credited on about half the tracks on the ModNation Racers OST. And Peter Chapman is credited on the other half. In 2014, under an alias Coins, he produced Daft Science, an 8-track remix project that mashes Beastie Boys vocals with Daft Punk samples while he was stuck on a Chicago layover heading to South by Southwest. It sat on Bandcamp for over 2 years with only a few hundred downloads until a music blog found it, causing the dormant tracks to explode with 1.4 million streams in a single week. Chapman has also scored for a bunch of movies and shows, including the criminally underwatched Winona Earp. He's also scored video games such as Little Big Planet Karting, also by UFG, Guacamelee, and Sound Shapes, sharing credits alongside Beck and Deadmau5. And finally, we have Jono Grant. If you bought the official ModNation Racers soundtrack, you won't actually find Grant's name on the track list, but he's right there in the game's end credits. Grant told me that his music was written specifically for the Creation Station. He earned a Genie nomination for Jacob Tutu Meets the Hooded Fang, a Gemini nomination for Captain Flamingo, and a Canadian Screen Award nomination for An Officer and a Murderer. Grant is also a fixture in the broader Canadian music scene. His biography credits him with co-producing 3 albums by jazz saxophonist Richard Underhill, including the Juno Award-winning Tales from the Blue Lounge, and he's performed with eclectic groups including James B. and the Royal Jelly Orchestra. You ought to know. And if you watched my Prince of Persia 2008 documentary, here's a cool connection. Among the many artists Grant has worked with in various studio capacities is the Canadian rock band The Tea Party. Its bassist and keyboardist is Stuart Chatwood, the same Stuart Chatwood who composed music for the Prince of Persia series and later Darkest Dungeon. Grant told me that when they met in 1998, Chatwood was very interested in composing for video games and movies. It was around that time that Chatwood produced a couple of the band's tracks for the EA game Road Rash 3D, and in 2003 scored his first full game, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. The vocal talent definitely gave this game its weirdly specific soul, thanks to a group of industry legends who've been in literally everything. No, wait, that's Steve Blum. I mean, Fred Tatasciore, right? I mean Nolan North. I mean Troy Baker. I mean Jennifer Hale. I mean Kerry Walgren. Richard Epcar is basically the final boss of voice acting, with over 1,200 credits to his name across anime, games, and TV. This guy has been around since the early days of anime localization, voicing heavy hitters like Batu in Ghost in the Shell.
We'll go and have a little chat and try to avoid shooting as much as possible. Are you happy now?
Raiden and the Joker in Mortal Kombat.
Nobody told you. I was all the rage.
And old Joseph Joestar.
Everyone, get in the car. We're leaving this town now. Ah!
He even runs his own production house, Epcar Entertainment, with his wife, Ellen Stern, who is also a voice actor and director. In ModNation Racers, Epcar plays Biff Tradwell, the loudmouth lead commentator for the MRC. He definitely nails the unvarnished arrogance, spending most of his time roasting Gary.
This is the whole enchilada with a side of beans and those hot pepper thingies that make Gary scream like a little third-grade schoolgirl.
Or reacting loudly to the chaos on the track.
Booyah! Booyah! Booyah!
An honorable mention goes to Tom Lummel, an actor, comedy writer, and improv guy whose career spans stage work, sketches, television, film, and voice performance. He's had roles in The Neighborhood.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm the window.
You got it, amigo.
This Is Us.
Oh, that was brutal. I need a drink.
And American Horror Story, among others. Lummel plays Gary Reasons. His performance is built around dry, deadpan timing as he tries to discuss the race while Biff insults him.
I haven't been that surprised since Gary found a date.
Goes off on a tangent or leaps onto the desk in his chonies.
What's going on? Ah!
Oh, booyah. Goodbye, everybody.
And okay, it's important that I talk about this next guy. For the Japanese version, Sony went big and brought in Kenji Utsumi to play Chief. Utsumi was an absolute titan in Japan, known for his deep, gravelly voice that commanded respect. He accumulated hundreds of credits across anime television series, films, OVAs, video games, and international live-action dubbing over 5 decades of work. Like Rao in Fist of the North Star, Shenlong in Dragon Ball, and the muscle-bound Major Armstrong in Full Metal Alchemist. He was also the go-to dub voice for legends like Jack Nicholson and Carl Weathers. He picked up a Lifetime Achievement Award before he passed away in 2013, leaving behind a legacy that is basically impossible to match. Yeah, and as a reminder, fuck cancer. Sony went all in with a massive multi-million-dollar global marketing blitz, slotting the game right into their legendary It Only Does Everything PS3 campaign. In North America, they went to their go-to VP of everything, Kevin Butler, played by Jerry Lambert. Butler showed up in commercials like the Artist Spotlight, showing off the game's insane customization tools while basically telling everyone why PlayStation was the best thing since the invention of hoops and sticks. Sony also played the nostalgia card with promotional character packs. The main North American pre-order campaign offered Kratos through GameStop, Ratchet & Clank through Amazon, or Nathan Drake through Best Buy, while Sackboy was distributed through a separate early copy and promotional offer. The launch of ModNation Racers happened during one of those gaming traffic jams. I mean, it wasn't like it was the September before a GTA launch or anything, but in late May 2010, the retail shelves. So, okay, since this is an Evergreen History channel, I think let's get into some video game history. So back in the olden days, there used to be these stores that you could go into and actually purchase like physical copies of these games with a disc or a cartridge, and you would go home and actually put the thing in the thing and you'd be able to play a game. Then get this, right? This is wild. Then when you were done with the game, you could give it to a friend or sell it. Okay, that's funny because at the time of recording, what's going on is that Sony just announced that there's not going to be any more physical games produced after January 2028. Awesome. So in late May 2010, the retail shelves were pretty much a battleground for these 3 huge racing titles dropped within the same 7-day window. Disney's Split Second, Activision's Blur, and this game, ModNation Racers. Oh right, and there was some little game called Red Dead Redemption that also launched in that same window. Even though Activision was throwing money at Blur like it was going to be a good Call of Duty, ModNation actually won this commercial cage match. That said, winning was relative, as all 3 games were widely regarded as commercially underwhelming. The critics, though, generally liked ModNation Racers, giving the PS3 version a solid 82 on Metacritic, with most of the lower-scoring reviews generally focused on load times, uneven AI, and familiar kart racing elements. Everyone pretty much lost their minds over the track studio, though, calling the paver mechanics a revolutionary gold standard for letting players build their own tracks in a racing game. And this was on a console, no less. They also gave a lot of credit to the driving physics, clever shield system, and a surprisingly engaging single-player campaign that was genuinely funny at times. But look, it wasn't all sunshine and mustache wax. At launch, the game was hammered for its nap-inducing load times. Individual transitions frequently lasted 30 to 60 seconds, and entering and leaving a race could take more than a minute. They did release a patch, though, that reduced loading times by around 30%, though it didn't eliminate the problem entirely. 2 years after launch, United Front Games followed ModNation Racers with Little Big Planet Karting, leveraging the studio's kart racing and creation tool experience into the Sackboy universe. 6 years later, in October 2018, Sony shut down ModNation Racers' online services, disabling online play and access to a vast library of shared creations. And here's where the community steps up. In development since 2020, a bunch of die-hard fans launched the ModNation Racers Revival project in October 2025. It's a fan-made labor of love that brought the online features back from the dead, including multiplayer, matchmaking, creation sharing, and you do not need a modded console. They've got a Discord for organizing races and showing off custom mods and karts, proving that a good game never truly dies if the fans care enough, and Sony's lawyers don't actively try to kill the joy still found in the 7th gen game. You can find more information on this and some links in the description. As for the fate of United Front Games, it seems a sadly familiar story. After Sleeping Dogs and Little Big Planet Karting, the studio spent years bouncing between high-profile co-development gigs like Halo, the Master Chief Collection, and an attempt to chase the games as a service dragon with Triad Wars, a Sleeping Dogs spin-off. When that didn't take off, they made one last desperate swing at independence with the PC brawler Smash and Grab. It hit early access in September 2016, but the financial runway just wasn't there. A month later, on October 17, 2016, the studio abruptly shut its doors. Smash and Grab was pulled from sale, and everyone who bought it got a refund. At the time of writing, since Sony recently announced the end of physical disc production in January 2028, prices are kind of inflated right now. That said, this one is still an easy find. The North American complete in box copies are going for between $10 and $15 on eBay. If you're really into this game and you get lucky, you can sometimes find a ModNation Racers press kit, which includes a car-shaped box, markers, stickers, a 2-disc PS3 game case with a promo game disc, as well as a media disc, and a sticker with a PSP review code voucher, which has long since expired like all code vouchers for the PS3. And so we go out, spend our $15 on a boxed copy, or maybe drop $120 on that press kit because we, after all, are curators of history. We put it on our shelf, admire it, and feel a momentary flicker of satisfaction because we've saved something. And that's partly why I make these documentaries in the first place, to preserve the work of developers and artists to keep their stories from disappearing. But games like ModNation Racers expose the limits of that idea. The disc preserves the tool. It does not preserve what people made with it. I can document the game, the studio, the people behind it. I can record what happened and try to extract why it mattered. But even in making these documentaries, I cannot fully preserve the things that I want to save. In this case, those things are the enormous library of tracks, karts, mods, experiments, and those weird little acts of creativity made by people whose names were never in the credits. Their work was real. Your work was real. The place it was kept was not. We live in a brave new world where ownership is a euphemism for a rental agreement. We're effectively becoming digital sharecroppers, cultivating space in someone else's yard until they decide to rezone. ModNation Racers was an early warning shot that we mostly ignored. It invited players to create, connect, and pour their artistic labor into a gallery they did not own. And they received 0% of the door. Unfortunately, this is the structural condition of every creative tool that routes its output through someone else's infrastructure, and it has not changed since. The tools improved, but the arrangement did not. In researching this, I've learned something from you, ModNation. Maybe preservation is not the promise that nothing will ever disappear. Maybe it's simply the refusal to let it disappear quietly.